Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beyond the Arc podcast. We got a special episode today. We have our first time co-host on, Matt Guzman. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little mock draft today with the NBA draft happening on Wednesday. Currently, right now, it is Monday afternoon or Monday night, depending on where you are. And yeah, the draft is upcoming the next few days. But before we get into the mock draft, Matt, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and kind of what you like to cover in regards to basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. As Matthew was saying, my name is Matt Guzman. I'm the lead reporter for San Antonio Spurs on SI, which is the new Sports Illustrated kind of a site that dedicated to specific team coverage, and by national mostly just does general news regarding different sports and league. I got started yes spring of 2023. I'll be entering my third season covering the Spurs. And that kind of features, I love storytelling. Any chance to kind of show the person behind the ad is something that I love to do, whether it be foundations or community give back events or just things that they're struggling with off the court. There's a lot of things, there's a lot more to basketball than the NBA than people might realize. So I always enjoy doing that.
Yeah, definitely. And me and Matt too, we were both part of the Sports Journalism Institute program. That's where we met, and that was a really great experience. So shout out all
Absolutely.
the SJI people out there. It was looking forward to joining the family and learning more about everyone and seeing where everyone ends up. So yeah. But yeah, so Matt's going to be a co-host for us now for the Beyond the Arc podcast, and then also Yash and Gavin, they'll be on as well. I'm probably going to do more focused episodes with them, just because the three of us, we like to really break down the nitty gritty of basketball. So they'll be around still, but they're busy doing their things career wise. So a good opportunity to bring Matt on as well. We want to do this weekly, and we just get right into what we want to talk about today. So first off, before we do the mock draft. The JJ Redick just had his press conference right now. Matt, what were I guess first of all, what were your thoughts on the hiring just overall?
I go against the current with this one because a lot of people are criticizing his lack of coaching experience and just the fact that it seemed he was already close with LeBron. And obviously everyone kind of accuses LeBron of playing GM, playing coach as is. So it didn't quite help the case there. But I really do think that JJ Redick is a unique hire. I think that he basketball IQ to the table. And that's something that, obviously you had to have that in the coach, but something that he's been attributed to him for years. He's been in ESPN hours. Everyone kind of knows the way he sees the game. And so I really do think that there's a lot of experience, I guess, in his mind and just from watching, from playing as well. And it actually could work pretty well because I think the Lakers are one of those teams. They're not all young, looking to develop the way that a team like the Spurs or the Thunder are. They've got a lot of heavy stars, but they've also got some pieces that are learning from those stars. And so they kind of need less of a coach teaching them how to play and how to be cohesive, showing them the best way that they can use their talent. And I think JJ Redick is kind of entering this role his first time as a head coach in the NBA. I think he understands that. And so I kind of liked it. I thought it was a good hire. I thought that, there was a lot of potential there. So I'm curious to see where it goes.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, everyone criticizes the fact that he's like had no coaching experience, coaching his like fourth grade son. And they've
Right.
had like so many graphics about that, like coaching experience, just like fourth grade coach for his like son's like little league team. But I feel like being a head coach, especially for being the Lakers head coach, it's a lot about respect. Like, do you have the respect of LeBron, and AD? And he already probably we all know he has a pre-existing relationship with LeBron already. Mind the Game podcast, but player coaches just tend to get that respect, and I think that's what the Lakers are kind of needing right now. I feel like the Darvin Ham, a lot of the reports that came out after he got let go after their playoff loss was just like he kind of lost the locker room a little bit. Um, so JJ made, bringing him in, they're hoping that, that's not going to be the case. And then also you obviously, we hear his, just his overall analysis of the game. Like he understands basketball, but,
For
in
sure.
terms of like X's and O's, like people are worried about that. Like I feel at the NBA level, I mean, you can have a coaching staff filled with former head coaches. Everyone knows their stuff in terms of drawing up plays. I mean, that's like honestly, the smallest part about coaching is just more about
I
getting
agree.
guys to overall buy in. And I feel like JJ is set up to do that. Maybe there's some stuff in terms of game management, like when to call timeouts, substitution patterns, things like that you're gonna figure out. But I feel like that's all learnable.
But I mean, if you want to throw it out there, I mean, there's not going to be many people who are worse about calling timeout in critical situations than Darvin Ham. So, yeah, I already feel like he probably knows what he's doing a little bit more. Because that was definitely Darvin Ham's biggest criticism was kind of sitting there, hands in his pocket. There's more to it. I think JJ Redick will be just fine on the sideline for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah. Was there any other NBA news that you wanted to hit on really quick before we hop into this mock drafts?
Well, I know that Kenny Atkinson finally found a home.
Oh
I
yeah,
know he's been
yeah,
a name atop, years now. So he was definitely somebody that I think has been waiting for his shot at a head coaching position. So curious to see how he does.
yeah. Yeah, he's been in talk for a lot of jobs. I mean, he was the assistant with Golden State, and he was in the running for the Charlotte job when that opened up. Um,
Right.
but I guess he just didn't want to go to Charlotte, wanted to stay in Golden State. But now, I think it's a good fit with him with the Cavaliers. I mean, they're kind of an up and coming team. They have talent that they just need to kind of
Right.
put it all together right now. So, hopefully he's the guy that can do that. Evan Mobley definitely needs to take a jump in terms of skill set. Like he needs to be able to shoot the ball. Um, and we'll see. Maybe who knows? Maybe that roster is going to look a little different. I mean, who knows? Donovan Mitchell's still going to be there. Maybe there is a trade incoming. But I kind of like the group they have. They maybe even find another wing to throw in there at the three. I mean, Max Strus is all right, but um, maybe finding someone else who can guard the ball a little bit better. And then
Right.
I think they're a good team. But I mean, just NBA overall right now is just really strong. So like, even if they do
Absolutely.
bring in a good guy, like I don't really know if they're better than Boston. So yeah. Okay, cool. We can hop right into this mock draft. Matt, what was your process, I guess, in terms of putting your boards, your list together?
Well, I know that there's been a solid group of players that are definitely like absolutely 100% going to be top five, top six. And so I was kind of looking at that pool, and part of what I did was I looked at the teams that were getting the picks, and I was like, well, what might they need most? But also, there's going to be a couple of instances where teams don't necessarily go. I mean, and then I hate to say that it's a weak draft. I don't think that such a thing exists. I think that there's going to be great prospect every year. But sometimes those teams are going to say, well, we might really, really, really need a wing, but at this moment where we're about to pick, there's a player that's being available. So we're going to go with the best player versus the best wing. So there's a couple of instances that throughout this, but in general, I was just kind of looking at the team that was drafting and kind of seeing where they were and how whoever prospect, whoever they end up picking would fit into that scheme. What about
Yeah,
you?
yeah. Yeah, I had kind of the same thing. I mean, I have my list of players I made. I made it up to basically 18, and then I went like team by team in the lottery because we're just doing 1 through 14, just lottery picks. Kind of identifying what those teams might be looking for at those spots. If you look at some of the mock drafts right now, they include projected trades, so this might not end up being the final order. For example, I've heard Detroit might drop from 5 to 9 and pick up a couple picks here and there. Just things like that might change, which might change its mock draft, but we can't really project that. That's a little too hard to do. So
Right.
I was thinking for this, so I can do all the odd picks, so 1, 3, 5, and then you can do 2, 4, 6, 8, partially because you're a Spurs guy. Spurs have 4 and 8, so then you'll be able to talk about the Spurs a little bit more in
For
depth.
sure.
So yeah, we can hop right into it. So number one, the Atlanta Hawks. Um, I'm gonna say for the Hawks, if I were in the Hawks shoe, I'm not saying this is what's gonna happen. This is just like our opinion in terms of who we think they should pick. I would go with Alex Sarr. I feel Alex. So I've just kind of seen like he's not necessarily the consensus number one pick, and right now I think, but for the most part, a lot of the intel that people are gathering is saying he's gonna go to number two because he wants to go to Washington. Like he hasn't worked out with the Hawks. I'm not entirely considering that. I'm just saying, like, from the Hawks, and like with all things being even, I would probably take Alex Sarr. I think he has a pretty high floor, just with like his movement abilities. I think he's gonna be has a good presence defensively, offense. I feel like he has an overall good field of game, some good perimeter skill sets. It's gonna allow the Hawks to play 5-out basketball, which which you saw with the Celtics. I mean, that's what they were doing all playoffs. So
Right.
kind of allows him to do that. Kind of fills in for maybe Clint Capella if he plays the five. He can also play at the start. Maybe he might be playing the four. But him and Trae Young, I feel like that might be a decent pick and roll partnership. I mean, he's not the best screen setter because he's kind of thin. But he's really tall and long at the end of the day. So um,
Right. Right.
yeah. Would you have made that selection if you were at the number one spot?
See, and that's a 1 and 2 flip. Because I had the Wizards taking Alex at number two, but I think for me, number one, I would go with Zachary Riziker because, and I say this because I don't think the Hawks have that dire need for a center. Obviously they don't have a standout center. I mean, they used to have John Collins and Trae Young. They were great. Then they kind of took a different route. They've got Clint Capella right now, I know, but I think that there's more of a need for them to kind of fill that 3-4, that forward spot. And Zachary Riziker, he's not that huge, tall, slender guy that Alex Sarr is. But I definitely see him as being, like you said, healing, somebody that can come in and fill that need and kind of make them instantly better. And then, I think there's something to be said there as well that Sarr hasn't worked out with the Hawks. But I just don't know if, the Hawks haven't gotten a chance to even see him. I don't know if they would be wanting to make that pick over somebody that they have seen. So I think we looked on 1 and 2, but I think that they're both very valid. I think they could go either way.
Yeah, I think it's Ricochet, by the way.
So okay.
Ricochet, I think. Yeah, I don't think it's.
Okay.
I'm pretty
That
sure
was
it's
the one that I
might be
was
wrong.
really confused on.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's Ricochet, but I don't actually have Ricochet for a little bit farther down my draft board because this draft board is just like my
Okay.
opinion, my analysis for
Fair.
these guys.
Yes.
How yeah, um, but yeah, I just think like the Hawks shouldn't make a pick at number one, like banking on the fact that, oh, we want to like be a win now team. We have Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, because I don't think with this group they have, they're good enough. So I don't think it's kind of a sunk cost at this point, the DeJounte Murray trade. Like you just got to kind of move forward and make the decision in terms of who you think is going to be the best prospect moving forward. I think
Sure.
Alex has the highest floor. I think he has a tremendous ceiling just with thought creating flashes he's shown. Who knows if he's going to hit that type of outcome. But at worst, I think I've heard this comp, but like Al Horford, kind of a jack of all trades, big, can do a bunch of little things well. He's a little bit more
Right.
athletic
Right.
than Al Horford. Could put the ball on the floor a little better. He's not as like, he's not gonna post guys up as well. But I like to overall hit the skill set that he brings. But yeah, we can move to number two, the Washington Wizards. I might have screwed up your draft board already, Matt. So apologies, but who'd you
No,
pick?
you're good. I
Didn't
had
even
Alex
take the
Sarr
one.
at number two. And now it's tough. I say it's a tough pick, but really it's like the Wizards, and I had this conversation a couple weeks ago. The Wizards, for me, were the NBA team. Nobody was expecting them to be all-star level having Jordan Poole and Clark. They were expecting them to be a little bit better than they were. And it just it's one of those things where, you have teams like the Pistons and the Spurs who are very low, in the conference standings all year, but they have very young. They've got guys like Kate Cunningham on the Pistons, guys like obviously Victor on the Spurs that have room to grow and room to lead a team. But it doesn't seem like the Wizards quite have that future. They have their veteran guys in Jordan Poole and kind of Guzman, but both teams play out basketball, but they like the Wizards are just in total disarray. So to me, they pick Alex Sarr, and I think that he's honestly one of the best overall talents in the draft. As tall as he is and skillful as he is, and I just think that that's the best pick for them because they kind of need a direction to go in, and if they play the right now the way that some are hoping he could be that direction for them.
Well, let's say Sar's not available because like I was thinking
Sure.
we do that like if Sar's picked, like he's off the board, like the
Okay.
Washington can
Okay.
pick them. I don't know. Sorry, I should have clarified that before, but
No, you're
um,
good. You're good.
yeah. So who?
Then
Yeah.
I think I would flip him. Sarr's taken with number one, then I'd put Ricochet.
Okay. Okay, let me put that down. Yeah, I just don't. I'm just not super high on Ricochet. I mean, I think he's a pretty solid connecting piece, role player. He defended some small. They put him on like point of attack on smaller guards. On his team in France. And he did pretty well staying in front of them, could guard up a little bit. I liked what he brought in terms of like weak side rim protection. But I just didn't really see the offensive upside with him entirely. Like I feel like he's
That's
just
fair.
kind of be a kind of more spot up guy, maybe one dribble, two dribble pull ups, straight line drive. Like I just didn't really see the offensive bag from
That's
him.
fair.
Um,
But if we go back to the Wizards, right, then, even if he doesn't bring that huge offensive standout
mhm,
talent with him, if you've got guys that are really shoot heavy and then get the ball and make things happen within your hand, you know, guys like Jordan Poole and kind of that stays their job. They stay
mhm.
wanting to be those scorers and Ricochet can fill in the gaps where needed to be another body on the court has to make some plays happen to space the floor. I see that becoming a role for him there.
Yeah, yeah. No, I could see that. It's a good fit positionally. I think that the Wizards do
For
need
sure.
3. Um, but like is Kuzma and Poole gonna be there long term? Who knows? But Ricochet, I mean, it looks like he's
That's
gonna go
the
number 1
question.
overall. So if he falls to number 2 to the Wizards, I don't feel like they'll be complaining at all.
Right.
So Ricochet is off the board now. We move to number 3, the Houston Rockets, who have a pick via the Brooklyn Nets from the James Harden trade. What a disaster for Brooklyn on that one. That Houston now has their pick. But
Mhm.
number 3, this might be a little bit of a man. This is kind of tough. Let me think about. I'm debating right now between Ron Holland and Reed Shepard. So Holland, I think
Okay.
consensus wise has dropped a ton. But I really like the upside that he has. His jump shot, I mean, looked really bad in the G League Ignite.
Yeah.
Just like air balls, like hitting the backboard. But he does
Right.
have some
Right.
rhythm on his shot. I think it's more like on his release, something with his release. It's hard to see like when you're on Synergy, like watching film, but um, like it's probably something's wrong with like, kind of the upper part of his release. But I mean, the thing is, Houston doesn't need another guy that is, a big slasher type. Like they already have Jalen Green, they have
Right.
Cam Whitmore, they have Tari Eason, they have Amen Thompson. It's another guy who can't shoot that's coming in. But I really like Ron Holland's upside. Mhm. Tough. I'm gonna go. And on the other hand, Reed Shepard, it kind of does fit what they need in terms of like kind of a connecting piece, can really shoot the ball. Um, hmm. I'm gonna go Reed Shepard on this one, actually.
Okay.
I like Holland's upside a lot, but I think Reed Shepard also, he has a decent amount of upside, although he doesn't have like the physical and athletic tools compared to Ron Holland, of course. But he shoots the three at a really high level. I think he's gonna grow in terms of being a pick and roll playmaker. Um, it was really interesting to me that all the way he was accumulating steals and blocks this year, and he was just the advanced stats on him were just pretty crazy with just his overall production. And I think he really fits what Houston need versus Ron Holland. It's kind of like we already have Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore and Jalen
Right.
Green who kind of fill a
Right.
similar mold. So I'm gonna go Reed Shepard for the
That's
Houston
who I
Rockets,
have.
which I think it's yeah, I think that's what was gonna kind of happen in on Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any contention there.
Yeah.
Are we moving on to 4?
Yep. Your San Antonio Spurs.
My Spurs. So number 4, ball player. I've seen him kind of, go up and down depending on where you look as far as where he's going to fall. But when I was kind of doing all my research on these prospects, he's somebody that I really liked the fit of specific to the Spurs. I think he's got some room to grow, but at the same time, I really do think he's a good playing at number 4.
To the
So
Spurs?
to the Spurs center.
Oh, interesting.
And what he brings, right? He's got that rim protecting presence, which is really strong. And that's something that obviously you bring in a 7'2" dude, and that's gonna be you better than. But I like the way that he fits next to Victor because I've always said, and I've said this with the Lakers and Anthony Davis. I think that one of their biggest issues has been they've been forcing Anthony Davis to play five. Now the Spurs did not do that with Victor Wembanyama last year, kind of let him have his freedom and do what he wanted to do, just to be himself where he needs to be. And so that's why they kind of put Zach Collins at the 5 next to him, more of a traditional center, somebody who isn't going to be crazy with the ball and trying to do it like he just fills that down low center. But at the same time, he's more of a bench piece, at least turned into that alongside Trey Jones. So, somebody like Klingon who brings a little bit more height, protecting presence, really see him thriving. kind of that filler down low spot on defense, on offense, whatever it may be, for our Victor to do his thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I feel like people think long term, like they want Wemby to play the five, for like spacing purposes and like let him have like a
Right.
mismatch guarding him. But that's yeah, you're right. But Zach Collins did play the five for the most part next to them last year. So and Klingons is a bit of an upgrade on Zach Collins. He probably doesn't have the same range. Like he can't really handle the ball um or shoot it at all like the way Zach Collins can. He's kind of a perimeter skill set a little bit, but Klingon can pass a little bit. He can play make. He can make good reads out of like the high post and stuff when he just like gets
For
like a
sure.
little elbow catch. So I'm actually not opposed to that fit at all. I mean, that's going to be, monster paint protection right there. I mean, you have two
Absolutely.
ginormous guys on your back line. I mean, the paint
Right.
is really going to be walled off if the Spurs decide to go that direction. Um, you wouldn't have considered taking like a guard there at all because I mean, obviously for the Spurs, their main thing is like they can't really shoot right now. They don't have a lot of shooters.
Right.
Um,
Right. And I mean, so that I mean, that is the biggest dilemma of the entire off season is, whether or not they're going to find the point guard they're looking for in the draft. You know, believing that they can try and move up, they get somebody else, and they're grumbling that they're still going to make a deal with somebody else to get a veteran point guard. Um, and to me, like, I think they have somebody like Trey Jones right now, and I don't think that they'd be losing out on. I don't think there's one point guard like you have to get this guy that warrants taking him in versus a few picks down at number 8. Uh, I do have them selecting a guard at number 8.
yeah,
I kind of want to prioritize getting that guy next to Victor, kind of let him, like you said. I mean, especially with that defensive prowess that would do. I kind of wanted to wait a little.
Yeah, that's fair. And you're right. There are some guards down low that you probably would get at number 8 that you probably don't need to reach for at number 4. And Clayton's a really
Right.
good player. I mean, I think he has a pretty solid floor,
For sure.
as like as a good rim protecting center. So, yeah, I really do like that fit. All right, number 5, Detroit. Yeah, this my board's already getting really dicey here. Um, I'm gonna go Ron Holland for the Detroit Pistons. It's
Wow.
not
Okay.
the it's not the cleanest fit. But the Pistons did just sign Fred Vincent, the famous shooting coach from the New Orleans Pelicans that turned around Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball's shot and even Josh Hart a little bit. Um, if he can turn Ron Holland's shot around, I mean, Ron Holland might end up being the best player in this draft. I mean, I don't know how much you've watched of like G League Ignite stuff, but I mean, he's really
Yeah.
dynamic with the ball. I mean, he's full speed downhill, really athletic, can contort his body in a bunch of different ways. Handle can improve a little bit, but it's functional for now. And his shot's not even, it doesn't look terrible. I think there was also some issues with the confidence once, teams are really going
Right.
under and really
And that
leaving him
definitely
open.
plays a role.
Yeah, so it kind of just messes with him a little bit. But the Pistons to me also do need someone that's just going to get downhill, because Cade Cunningham's more a slow, methodical player. Jaden Ivey can get downhill at a pretty decent level, but I also don't think Jaden Ivey's like shown enough to the point where it's like, okay, I'm not drafting a certain guy because I have Jaden Ivey. That's kind of my thinking. And
Right.
also, I think Ron
Right.
Holland could also play the 3. Um, and you have some pretty good size 1 through 3 if you have Ron Holland starting at the small forward position. So, yeah, I'll go Ron Holland. Hopefully, Friend Vincent can turn around that jump shot. And um, I know Ron Holland's probably going to end up going later in the lottery, maybe even not in the lottery at all. But he came in as like one of the consensus top picks in the draft, and I do believe in just his overall like dynamic ability on the offensive end. Defensively, had a really high steal rate. Um, really good in transition, can push it. Really great motor. I think he can add a little bit more pace into his game in terms of just like slowing down a little bit, not going 100% all the time. Learn a little bit from Cade Cunningham that way. But yeah, I'll go number 5, Detroit with Ron Holland.
Alrighty.
Where'd you have Ron Holland, by the way?
I had him way down at 11 with the Bulls.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's honestly, that's kind of might be where he goes. And I think if the Bulls get Ron Holland, actually would be a really good fit because they just need to reset
Yeah.
and build around someone. So, but yeah,
For sure.
sorry,
It'd be
Detroit.
interesting to see how much Ron could give
Yeah.
you. Because I know they just got him as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be interesting for sure. All right, we can move to number 6 unless you have any more thoughts on Ron Holland. But number 6, the Charlotte Hornets are
oh,
on the clock.
yeah, I've got somebody there that's still available, but maybe a little bit.
I have a guy
You know
that
what?
I would definitely choose there, but yeah, go for it.
Okay, so who I have down for number 6 is Stephon Castle, also from UConn. I liked what I saw from him as far as just shoot and then to make plays happen. I think that the Hornet are a team that they're very young. They've got direction to go in. Um, behind LaMelo Ball, they have their clear number one star. Um, so I think getting another guard that can kind of fill both of those roles and learn from some of the guards that are really good about playing could be really beneficial for him. And then, I just overall, I think what he brings, he's got good defense as well. I think that he's a strong fit there, and so I had him down.
Yeah, I really like that fit actually because they need a two guard and they need a two guard that can guard on the ball because you have Brandon Miller and LaMelo who aren't guys you want to put on opposing team's best perimeter scorer. So I think
Right.
if Fawn Castle falls to 6, that is a steal for the Hornet. Because
Where
right
did
now
you
I'm
have him?
projecting more. I had him at about this range, like
Okay.
5, 6, like around this area. Um,
Makes
so I
sense.
think,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think we had a little, yeah, I had number 5 overall. Um,
Okay.
yeah, there's one guy that's pretty high up that I think might surprise some people that he might actually, ooh, he might drop a little bit now that I'm looking at who's up next. But yeah, really like that fit with Charlotte with Stephon Castle. I don't know in terms of assets what they have, but I would even consider Charlotte to move up to get him even. There are shooting concerns with him, but his jump shot isn't completely broken, but the ways teams were guarding him at the college level, just like completely ignoring him, treating him almost like a definitely not to the extent of a Ben Simmons, but like playing pretty far off him and like really letting him shoot. But that also might have
Right.
been a byproduct too of UConn's offense just being so good that like, we have to do something to throw them off. And that's why
Right.
teams guarded them like that. But Castle's jumper's not broken. Not I don't think it's as bad as Ron Holland's right now. But yeah, I just think of Stefan more as like a connector piece, like filling in the gaps, defending, can pass, can drive it, make quick
For sure.
decisions. So that's why I like him in Charlotte. Yeah, I like that pick a lot. We can move to number 7,
Sure.
the Portland Trailblazers. So Portland last year they were able to pick Scoot Henderson, so they kind of have a pretty solid point, and then Shaden Sharp as well. I really like Shaden Sharp's game is super athletic. He just makes the game look so effortless. Anthony Simons is still on that team. In the front
Sure.
court, they got Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton. Um, Man, this is tough. I gotta think through this one a little bit. Hmm. I might go. Let's see. I'm gonna go Cody Williams here. Cody Williams out of the University of Colorado. Um, yeah, I feel like he's a really really solid player. I mean, he hasn't. I don't think he shoots the ball the way some that teams might like, but I think his jump shot looks decent, so that he'll get there. But he has really creative ways of scoring just around the basket. Really great touch. Um, and I think be a pretty solid fit in Portland. There's parts of this game where he definitely does need to round out a little bit. But I think there is a lot of potential there. He's pretty hot. He's pretty productive, even though he was pretty young, got hurt. So people didn't really see a full season from him, but I think Portland's a good fit for him. I think, playing him behind Jeremy Grant for a couple of years, or maybe just one season, because Grant might be on the move at some point, would be beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah. I had Cody Williams at 7 too. I agree with that. I think it's a great pick, great fit.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right. We can move to the next pick, is the San Antonio Spurs via the Toronto Raptors and the Jakob Poeltl trade.
oh my goodness, the Raptors, man. I felt so sorry. Well, I don't feel sorry for the Spurs though. I'm gonna be honest, that's a great pick. So I with the number 8 pick, I'm gonna have to go with Devin Carter from Providence.
Mhm.
Um and so he's the guard I mentioned from earlier. I think that he's still gonna be available at number 8. Um, you know, indeed fill that gap that they obviously have on offense. But I mean he's a true point guard. He looks, he acts, and he plays like one. He's been around the league or around college a lot too. He had multiple stops along the way. And he kind of comes in with some experience, not experience. He's played basketball. He's 22. He'd be older than actually Victor. coming in. I think that if the Spurs do want to end up going the route of filling their need at point guard through the draft, honestly, I could see him being the safest option, the best option. I mean, he just kind of fits the bill for what they need. And so I think that, what he brings to the table, he kind of has experience doing everything, knowing how to pass and how to shoot and how to play make. He can play off the pick and roll and definitely turn into the player that the Spurs would need next to Wembanyama. He's the player that would come in. I've got a team lead at 7-4. I'm a point guard that knows how to pass. Let's put 2 and 2 together. And so I really like the way that he played, and I like his fit there. So I went ahead and I picked him there. He's not a great shooter. He's got the things to work on in that sense, but I think overall, I think it's not big enough to think his draft stock in the Spurs' eyes. So I like taking him there.
Yeah, I like that fit as well. I mean, especially I mean, that's gonna be a monster defensive combo. If they get Devin Carter and then have Wemby and Clingy on the backside, like, guarding and pick and roll,
Right.
because Carter's a
And
really great on-ball defender. Definitely one of the best
absolutely.
point of attack guys in college.
Yeah. And I'm kind of going all in on this defensive monster that the Spurs can have. If they were to get, Donovan Clean, they'd have the two guys they were protecting and had Debbie Carter out there on the perimeter. And you also have Jeremy Sohan and City So players that are very, really good defenders. And so you put it all together, the Spurs could really lean on their defense, kind of, propel them forward as they get older and they grow.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy defensive team. If that's the route they go. Yeah, well, I hope they can shoot a little bit. Devin Carter, I mean, he shot pretty well in college. I mean, there's concerns like, oh, his form is a little bit more like two
Right.
motion than he doesn't get it off as quick, and he's already short. So who knows what that looks like at the next level? But definitely an upgrade in shooting over Trey Jones, I think, which is something they definitely need. I like
For
Devin
sure.
Vassell as well. Devin Vassell too I think he's gonna be a pretty solid two guard. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. All right. We can move to number 9, the Memphis Grizzlies. So the Grizzlies are an interesting spot just because, last year was kind of a lost season. Just because of, Jaw was out and Marcus Smart was out and Desmond Bane missed some
Right.
time. So that's why they're up here in the lottery and they get another crack at it. They have a really deep team right now. Even you look at the young players, like Gigi Jackson has really showed some great flashes last season, and he was a really big steal for them in the second round. I think their starting lineup is pretty locked down. I mean, you got John Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. Um, oh, they don't have a center right now. Oh, they still have Zaire Williams on their team too. Oh my God, I'm looking at their basketball reference.
Mm.
Guess how many players have played multiple games for them this year?
I think I remember seeing that stat somewhere. I'm gonna guess 20.
33.
Oh my goodness, even more.
Yeah.
That's insane.
33 players have played for the Memphis Grizzlies last season. I was scrolling down. I feel like I'm missing people on this roster. Oh, there's Zaire Williams. Um, yeah, there's a Jalen Noel played for them last season. Kenny
That's crazy.
Lofton, Shaq Harrison, if you know who that is.
I do remember Lofton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of, they have some pretty decent pieces. I mean, they have a lot of depth. In terms of quality of depth, I don't really know. I'm not too big on some of these guys. And I think the one concern you might have about the Grizzlies is just like their shooting. I mean, Desmond Bane can shoot the ball, obviously. Vince Williams Jr., I mean, he shot 38 from 3 last year, but only on 4 attempts, which is like pretty middling. John Morant's never been known as a shooter. Jaren Jackson, he's probably a little bit better of a driver. At the 5, a lot of the times you're playing a guy who can't really shoot it. So I think there's a pretty clear fit here. I'm gonna go Dalton Connect with for the Memphis Grizzlies. I think this is actually a really good fit. Absolute bomber from 3. I mean, they can run offense around him too. They can build they can build certain units around Connect to being able to fly off screens, kind of in a Devin Booker-esque way. I mean, with at Tennessee, they had it coming off a lot of like pin down low, a lot of like zipper screen stuff like that to come up top. And he's a really good shooter. I mean, one of the most productive college basketball players there were. He's a little bit older already, so a lot more mature, ready to contribute now. I think he'd be one of their playoff rotation guys if if he actually fell to the Grizzlies this far. I mean, there's reports of him going a little bit earlier to even Charlotte to fill that 2 guard spot. But if he's able to go to Memphis, I think that would be a really good fit for them. I'm thinking for some of these other teams
Absolutely.
that are ahead of him, I don't really know if I would go like San Antonio or Portland or Charlotte. Like, I feel like for them, you want to take a little bit more of an upside swing on a guy, whereas Dalton Connect, he is what he is at this point. Um, he might become like an elite level scorer, but I like to fit in Memphis a lot. I think he's going to bring a lot of shooting, and their offense kind of just
Fair.
sputters out sometimes. So yeah,
Right.
yeah. All
Okay.
right, nice pick.
I had Connect at 10, so that took a little bit early for me. But a guy that we have not mentioned yet that I think I'm going to go ahead and take Matas Buzelis from the G League Ignite. He's a player I had really high. I had him actually at 5 in Detroit. Just kind of waiting for the moment to come back down. But I really like what I think of him. I think that, I mean, he's somebody that can play multiple roles on the offense. I know that he's kind of got, I think he needs to be a little bit stronger. That's kind of the biggest thing that I noticed from him is, as he's kind of looking to make his own shot and create space in the mid range. Sometimes he kind of gets thrown off his game against stronger defenders, and that's only going to, increase against tougher dudes. But I think he's got some room to grow as far as playmaking goes. But he's definitely got he's got good positioning on defense. He knows where to be at men when. He knows how to find his guys. He's a good passer. He's a good screens better. He can make things happen in the half court. Men of the Utah Jazz. So I'll take him at number 10.
Yeah, I was debating taking Matas at 7. It was between him and Cody Williams, but I think Cody Williams is a little bit. He might be a little bit more of a sure thing. I mean, Matas, I feel like the upside for him is just kind of a little bit harder to see. Um, he's just
Right.
like
That's fair.
he's just such an interesting player. I mean, he didn't shoot it great, but I think his shot's all right. But he doesn't have a lot of
Right.
his in terms of ball handling. He's like pretty good for his size, but he's not going to break a guy down, and like create offense. So that's why I want Cody
Right.
Williams. I think Cody Williams' upside is a little bit higher. And then San Antonio, I don't really feel like you need Matas, especially since you take Klingon. You already have Victor Wembanyama. Memphis, I think you
Right.
want a little bit more of a sure thing. So I think Utah is a good spot for Matas. I mean, he kind of plays into that too because they like playing big. Larry Markin at the 3 sort of deal. So
Right.
that kind of plays into that identity. Hopefully his shot can come around, but I think he's pretty athletic for his size, can get up. He was first in the team in blocks, second in rebounds for G League Ignite this year, so he plays pretty big, but also has
Right.
some of that
For sure.
guard skill set. So yeah, I like Matas there. We got number 11, the Chicago Bulls. I don't know, is it the time to take the swing on this guy? I don't think there's no way I think the Bulls would actually do this. Um, because the Bulls want to stay mediocre. They want to stay not like high in the lottery, but I'm gonna go Isaiah Collier at number 11 for Chicago Bulls. So I actually have Isaiah way higher on my draft board. I had him at the number 4, number 5 spot, which is
Wow.
way higher. I've seen him like late first round, but he's very highly decorated high school player. Came into this year as one of the top prospects in the NBA draft, just didn't have a great year. I mean, I think he had a pretty solid year at USC for the team context
Yeah.
that they had. I know there's
Right. Right.
concerns about like, he's not like a little bit turnover prone. He only goes 100 miles per hour. The jump shot looked a little iffy. His handle is probably not exactly where you want it to be, but I think despite that, he just has a knack for getting downhill, and that's like something for me as like a basketball person, like I really appreciate just someone, a guard that can really create for himself, get downhill. And I would say USC's offense to me was pretty bad in terms of their structure. I mean, just there was really no cohesiveness there. I mean, they had a lot of talent. I mean, Boogie Ellis is gonna get drafted probably second round. If not, he's gonna get a 2-way contract. Definitely gonna be a summer league player. They had Kobe Johnson. I mean, Kobe Johnson too. I think he stayed another year going to UCLA, but he's gonna get drafted. They had a pretty solid team, and just I think the Andy Enfield tenure, they just haven't had great offensive structure around a lot of NBA talent they've had. And I think
Sure.
he kind of Didn't exactly help his draft stock for Isaiah. So I just really like the way he gets downhill. I think he's gonna be a really good NBA player. Of course, the floor is not great. He might just end up being a backup point guard, but I think he's just too explosive and athletic and dynamic um, for that. And I feel like if you kind of teach him the ropes a little bit, teach him a little bit more pace, add a little more pace in his game, just like slowing things down. I think he's gonna be really good. And Chicago Bulls honestly need a spark like that. They just need someone that's gonna um, be exciting to watch. And I think he's a very exciting to watch player. So he and Lonzo Ball, they just got rid of Caruso. Lonzo Ball, who knows what's his status. They have Kobe White, but they kind of do just need a bit of a reset right now. I think if they should take an upside swing, a little bit of a risky upside swing with Isaiah, but so that's my pick for at number 11.
I like it.
Did you have him in your lottery?
I did not.
I don't
I
think
did not.
most people don't. But yeah, I like his game.
I mean, I'm curious where he goes too. I'm about as curious to see where he goes as I am Bron, because I know that both of them are going to be looking to find teams and stuff. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Number 12, he moved to the Oklahoma City Thunder, pick via the Houston Rockets. Who you got there?
Well, I have a name written down, but I think a name that taken earlier, or sorry, than I had that I'm available now. You know what I mean? I think I like that bit better. I'm gonna go Rob Dillingham from Kentucky for the Thunder.
Okay.
So he's a player that I kind of watched a lot because I think for a good while there he was the player that the Spurs get to solve their point guard problem. I don't think that's quite the case anymore. I think his draft stock has definitely fallen down a little bit, but I could see him thriving on the Thunder. I know that they just got rid of Giddey in place of Alex Caruso. So they're kind of making, I think that he's the player that could kind of come in and learn from somebody like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He's not going to come in. They don't have a point guard. They've got the point guard who's going to be 31-9 no matter what circumstance. So I could see him coming in and just kind of learning and being a good bench piece because that's a team that's really deep, that's really young. Can always been more fresh legs that are willing to learn and willing to kind of buy into that system over there. It's a very unique situation there, and to be so young and already have such success, such a bright future that's clearly ahead for them. So I kind of like I like putting him there under Shea Gilgeous-Alexander just to kind of see how and then see what he can make happen.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like that fit now I think about it. I mean, just the way they space the floor, and he's just such a dynamic, shifty guard.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think he could definitely thrive there. Just they're a little guard heavy right now to me. But he does bring a level, I think, of the explosiveness with the ball that, like, I mean, Shea's a little bit more methodical, but Dillingham's just like an absolute just blur.
For sure.
Really dynamic shot creator. So maybe he might have been a guy that they needed against the Dallas series. Like, imagine that a couple years down the line, their offense isn't really working the way it wanted to. You put the spark plug in and Rob Dillingham. I've heard a lot of like Lou Williams comparisons to him. Just someone who can get his own shot off. So I think that yeah, I actually, now that I think, I had him a little bit lower just because I mean, he's like 6'1", 164. Defensively, his effort wasn't always there.
Right.
So there's concerns about that. But yeah, no, I think that's a pretty solid pick.
Well, who do you have at 13? Sacramento Kings.
All right. Yeah, we're getting a little dicey here just in terms of my board. I'm gonna go Jared McCain here. The Sacramento kid comes home. If you didn't know, Jared McCain was originally from Sacramento. He moved to Southern California to be closer to his brother, who played at Cal State San Marcos, which is a pretty good Division II basketball school down in the San Diego area. But yeah, I really like Jared McCain. Just he's been able to prove guys wrong along the way. People say he came into high school and he wasn't, so isn't a guy you see like, oh, this is gonna be like an NBA one and done player. Like, actually, I talked to his high school coach yesterday because I'm working on a piece about him right now. Yeah, I asked him, like, did you think this guy was gonna be a Duke blue blood one and done and first round NBA draft prospect? And he's like, yeah, there was no way I would have even considered that. I mean, Jared's made such a huge transformation from that age. And I mean, I feel like he's proved people wrong along the way. I think he guards better than what his measurements indicate. He's really strong, can shoot the ball, can put it off the dribble. And I really feel like he fits into what Mike Brown's offensive system is in Sacramento. I know they just re-signed Malik Monk, but you don't have to plug Jared McCain in
Right.
to be a starter right away. And they have Kevin Herter, but I think McCain, the intel on him is like from everyone I've talked to and read, and it's elite level in terms of just like character and work ethic. So at Sacramento, I feel like that's a guy you don't want to pass up on. Um, and I mean they're kind of sputtering it now. They had a little bit of a down year after making the playoff for the first time in whatever the longest streak in North American history. Um,
Right.
but McCain, another really good shooter, plays next to De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, really spaces the floor, knows how to move out the ball, smart player. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go McCain to Sacramento at 13. Yeah.
I had Zach Edey there, number 13. I kind of like the long them on just bonus. So, but I could see it. I like the pick. I think I could see them going, they could go for a guard, a smaller guy, or they could go for Tony big. So I like that. That's a good pick.
Cool.
Surrounding us out with the Trailblazers at number 14. I have Serbia.
Nikola Topic.
And yes, that's my pick. I think that he's got there's a lot of upsides for him. Um, he's got that guard mindset. He's got some size to make his plays and make his passes matter. But he also kind of he's part of that wave of this foreign talent that and that played overseas already before coming to the NBA. And so he kind of plays the game that certain way. They kind of come to, and they have to adjust, but they tend to kind of adjust really well. And so, I think, to be honest, you mentioned, and I totally was disappointed by what he did this season. I know that he's got a lot of room to grow. I know that he's still going to kind of come into his own there in Portland, but I don't being that star for them down the road. And so I could see them, looking to get some other pieces, some other young talent, probably kind of grow and thrive alongside him. Not necessarily to replace him because he's going to have a place in the roster for sure. But I like the fit. I like the fit of and a guard like that got that experience already just to kind of come in and see what he can do in the NBA.
Yeah, I like Topic's game a lot. He's just a guy that he is kind of a tougher fit in my eyes a little bit. Also he had those knee
Fair.
injuries too, which is a little bit concerning. But
That's the thing,
I mean, he's really good like out of pick and roll with the ball in his hands. Like he can make a lot of great reads, really great pace. He's especially good too when like teams like flow into that pick and roll with him, like coming off a handoff or some sort of action that gets him into the pick and roll where he already has like a slight advantage. Like he's so good in those situations. But for him to do that, he needs the ball in his hands. He needs those ball handling reps. And like not like a lot of these teams already have kind of guys like that. And like if he's playing like the three for someone, like he's just not good enough defensively to me to make up for that. I mean he's 6'6", but he's also, a little bit on the skinny side. Um, like he's just not a great defender. Like this is not his game. Like he's kind of more of like a guy that needs to be like an offensive engine. Maybe some
Right.
secondary stuff in the NBA, but he's best when he has the ball in his hand, and it's just like hard to find situations that kind of fit that. I think Utah, honestly, Utah would have been a good fit. Him over Matas Buzelis. Um, I think he would fit in with Utah's system, what they like to run a lot of movement, very closer to the style he probably ran with Mega Basket. Um, but yeah, he's a really talented player. If he falls to Portland, I don't, I think they should definitely consider it. I would have considered uh I might butcher his name, but Tijon Saloon. He's been getting a lot of
Yeah. Yeah.
lottery draft buzz recently. Pretty solid defender. Pretty great IQ for someone who's 18, 19 years old in defensive end.
For sure.
His shots he makes shots, but it's a little bit of work in progress. Doesn't have a great off the bounce game, but he can cut. He can move off the ball. I've heard some like he's not as big as Aaron Gordon or athletic, but like
Right,
that
right.
style of player, he could be that type of guy. So I think that would have been okay fit in Portland, but um, yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone that I had on my board has gotten taken pretty much. So yeah, I think we're all that's all 14
That's
picks.
fair.
How was that overall for you? What do you think about your selections?
Yeah, I like it. That was good. I think I forget which one you stole from me, and I was like, oh, but the rest of them, I think they were good. I think we're pretty much in agreement. Um, I, like I was saying earlier, I think that a lot of people are kind of shaping it up to be the weak draft that nobody cares about. But I think there's a lot of interesting talent. There's not going to be that one few. There will be eventually. There will be that one star like from this draft, right? But I don't along with having a bunch of guys that are more on level playing field versus one elite guy you're waiting to see. So I think it'll be cool to watch the draft class collectively kind of do their thing next year and see, like for all I know, the rookie of the year race is all completely open. I could see
Yeah,
anybody
yeah,
going
who
and
knows?
taking it home and make it interesting.
Yeah, when people say weak draft class, I feel like the connotation is like, oh, there's like no one that's gonna be good in this draft, but that's like never happen. Like very rarely that happens in NBA
Absolutely.
history, if
Yeah.
at all. It's like it's harder to identify like who are the guys. Like that's why you see such a
Right.
range of the type of guys in the order in the lottery. Um,
Yeah.
and then
What
people
it's
like
good.
yeah, and when people tear it off, it's like, or tear the draft off, it's like, oh, I don't really know. Like it's just kind of hard to tell. Um, but yeah, I think overall the selections you made was good. I like that conceptualization you made about the Spurs with getting Klingon and then Devin Carter. I mean, that's just a monster defensive group. And then you just
That
hope
was kind of what I
you
was
get
going.
yeah, you get enough offense from your 2 and the 3 spot to and Victor obviously, but yeah, that's a very
Yeah.
interesting way to think about Spurs moving forward.
That's what I'm hoping for, because I think that he is on. That's obviously what makes him such a standout player, Victor. Um, Obviously he's always going to fall back on his defensive, what he brings to the table on that end.
Mhm.
His block and his steal and his ability to disrupt shots. So you got a player, if your best player's best ability is defense, I can see no wrong coming from basing the rest of your teammates' skill to lean into that defense, or to lean into that offense, or whatever you thrive the best. They have an anchor that's just gonna. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. If they have an anchor that's gonna be winning Defensive Player of the Year after Defensive Player of the Year award, come a few. There's no reason not to surround him with other defensive talents to kind of, make that overall just a powerhouse. And that could be something that really sets them apart.
In terms of like what you're hearing, seeing, like what do you think they're actually going to go in terms of the NBA draft this year? Like what picks are they going to make? The Spurs. How about the Spurs?
I do think that they're going to take a point guard. I've seen some of the rumblings that they're looking to move up to number one. I don't think they're going to actually end up going through with that. But I do think they're going to grab a point guard, whether it be at 4 or 8, kind of give them the lift. I would not be surprised if one of those picks ends up getting moved, but at the same time, they've kind of stressed this patient, slow approach this entire time. And so there's no reason for them to decide on draft day that they're going to go gung ho and go crazy and trade both their picks for some veteran. I really do think that they're going to kind of take it and just see how things go. But I definitely a point guard. Something like Devin Carter, Rob Dillingham, Reed Shepard is going to be taken by them. And, maybe if they get lucky, Reed Shepard falls to 4 and they take him there. But I think that they're definitely going to want to get somebody like that to help themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's all we got for the podcast today. Matt, just let people know where they can find you on social media, places you write, and then we can wrap it up.
Absolutely. So my Twitter handle, I'll include it next to my name minus the U, so Matt Guzman. And you can find any of my articles on San Antonio Spurs on SI. That up and it'll pop. We got the draft coverage coming up and a bunch of other stuff down the road and down this week and further. So, but yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to do this more often for sure. It's going to be a good opportunity. I appreciate you.
Oh yeah, no, of course. I mean, this is gonna be great doing this weekly. Full dose of NBA stuff in the summer, and like we hit the off season, and just like the finals feels like so long ago now, but it's like
It's
barely been like
crazy.
it's
I
been like a
know.
week or so. Yeah. Um, but yeah, looking forward to doing this consistently, and doing some great stuff. So, yeah, thank you everyone
Absolutely.
for listening. Make sure to follow us at Beyond the Arc 8 on Twitter. Make sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And thank you for listening.